getting the hang of it.
All right, you ready?
So ready.
Oh, we're already live.
We're live. You guys
Hello,
get to see the
Facebook,
setup.
YouTube, and podcast people.
Hello.
It's that time again.
It is. It's always that time, isn't it?
Yes, it seems like it comes more often, or more sooner than not, I guess.
I guess.
So today we're going to talk to you about this crazy seller's market and multiple offers, and if you're lucky enough to get an offer, well, should you maybe wait to get more?
Someone had posted on Facebook today, it's a fellow agent, and was, talking about how they had submitted an offer, then, agents on the sell side seem to be ignoring timelines lately.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you? Yeah, and then, just waiting for more offers and more and more and more, and I don't know it's so much the agents as, we have to do what's directed by our clients,
Exactly.
the sellers. But it is frustrating when you're on the other side of it, for sure. So what,
I've always wondered what takes so long for people to accept. Once they've said highest and best, and then,
yeah.
We're going to accept until noon today, but we're not going to tell you till noon tomorrow.
Do you think that's a strategy?
I mean, I understand that, maybe the seller wants to think about it, sleep on it, but
Right.
my goodness, is it stressful for the agent on the other side and the buyer.
I just don't operate like that.
No.
I am very, when
I'm a decisive person.
very decisive, and my clients tend to be as well. It's not something that we take a whole lot of
Right.
time to think about. When we're in a transaction, usually things are replied to right away, if not within,
Sure.
a timely fashion.
And I also understand what the other side's feeling like. And I
Sure.
don't like when people make me feel,
Right,
or I just don't like waiting.
right.
And I don't like to make other people wait. So I try my best to act quickly. So you get an offer though. Okay, so
Right.
you put the house on the market, you get what you want, you get an offer. And this market, we're seeing a lot of where people are maybe listing on a certain day, leaving it open for a number of days to give everybody a chance to get through, and then taking an offer, or accepting offers through 3 or 4 days later. What do you think about that strategy?
I mean, I'm seeing it all the time. It's frustrating for me on the buy side, but
It's also frustrating for me on the buy side though too, if they accept an offer right
immediately,
off the bat.
yeah, like
even
why
have
didn't you give us a chance?
It goes
It's a
both ways.
lose-lose. It really, there's no good way to do it, I suppose. But I get it. I mean, you do. I usually see it as you do want to give a chance for everyone to come through and not feel the pressure of, I think there's more issue with everyone having to decide within the first 30 seconds of being in the house if they want to write that offer.
Yes.
And then they have buyer's remorse during inspection period or at some point during the transaction.
I didn't think about it that way. That's another good benefit of people waiting.
Yeah.
Is that if they change their mind, no harm, no foul if
Right.
it's not been
Rescind
accepted.
that
Yeah.
offer. Go back and see it
I
again.
hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, so I think probably in the grand scheme of things it is a better strategy to do it that way in this kind of climate that we've been having.
I've had situations where I've listed, one of the first times I did it, I listed and put in the agent remarks that we're not accepting offers until Sunday. Say we listed on Thursday. And we didn't get any offers, Thursday through Saturday.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, I'm starting to sweat.
Yeah.
So, then I feel like I look like a fool if by Sunday, everybody who was going to show, then you're starting to get the text messages when it's active days later,
Yep.
What happened. So I do have some hesitation to announce that at the beginning.
Absolutely.
What I like to do is put it in the MLS, don't say anything like that, and then gauge activity. If you're getting tens of showings, maybe you've got 15, 20 showings coming up as soon as you list in the next few days, maybe it's okay to, I think in that situation, to wait.
Sure.
Because you want to get as many of those people through. That real estate's a numbers game. The more people who see it, the better chance you've got of getting what you want as the seller out of it.
Yeah.
And so then if there are that many people that want to see it, or you've already got an offer early and you still have all those showings coming, then I think it's okay to wait a little bit. I will write in the MLS and the agent remarks, leave all offers open for 24 hours. Because then that way it at least gives me a chance to get a few more people through. Because what agents I find are doing are going through the house, immediately writing an offer, and giving you only 4 or 5 hours to accept.
Right, which I understand.
And I've done it. As a buyer,
I have as well.
I just did it. So,
I have as well.
And it can work. However, you're putting a lot of stress on the seller in that situation, and in this market, you kind of want to play nice, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so too, but I get it. Like there's, I don't know what a good strategy is for that. And in that case, I probably would advise, you don't accept this offer, why don't you wait? And you can always, at some point counter offer. It just means you don't accept this one offer.
I felt like in the beginning when this started to be the norm with multiple offers and all the showings and the excitement on the seller side, I felt like in the beginning people were quick to accept for the fear of losing what they got because people didn't want to be in a bidding war.
Right.
But now it's such a unique situation if there isn't a bidding war that I feel like that risk of losing the buyer has been minimized. I feel like that there's more than likely that buyer's not going anywhere because they've probably been through this already where they've bid and lost, and then now they're making stronger offers because they understand hopefully they learned that they don't want to go back through that whole process again. So that was always my fear as an agent too, and telling people, okay, well maybe we should hold off. Because what if that person back then was, they were looking at other properties? What if they found another one they liked better and then they rescind it? Or they don't want to be in a bidding war? Well, now there's nothing for sale.
Right.
I mean, or seemingly so. I mean, there are properties out there, but
not
few and
not
far
new.
between.
They're kind of the leftovers right now.
Yeah. Someone said, and we talked about this the other day, I think it's funny, I saw a meme on Facebook, an agent posted, the properties left over in the MLS are kind of like a dating service. It's like, the ones left over, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, what's wrong with them? Something's wrong with them. Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I've been in a lot of them too lately. Like
yeah.
The
And you see, now you see why.
Now I get it. Yeah. I get it. I think that, sellers have gotten very savvy, and we've talked about this a lot. I think that they do come from a place where, they know something else is going to come. So why not wait?
Right.
And the thing that always, I think as well, is the theory, the first offer is always the best offer. Have you seen that still come into play? Have you?
Like with even the multiples? No, because I think now agents are asking, how many offers do you have? They want to know what they're competing
against. That's my very first question. Very first question. Is there an offer in already on this?
Right. And so the first offer, I feel like maybe is at a disadvantage because they wrote it before they knew there were 4 or 5 other offers.
And I've run
into that. So now you have to be, you have to be more competitive. And a lot of times these situations, they're highest and best. And people will say, we're not going to call for highest and best. So just make this your best foot forward.
Right.
And the ones I dislike the most are the ones that say, we're not reviewing with an escalation clause, just give us your best.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't.
I know why.
Well, sure. I mean,
they just want to know where your top number is, and they're just going to pick from that top number. What I have done with buyers in that situation is, okay, we're still going to write an escalation clause. They still have to present it. But give your escalation clause more teeth. Don't just do 500 or 1,000. Do 2,000 or 3,000. Give them something to think about it.
Yeah.
So if you offered if the original offer was 200 and you'll go up to 225, beat it by 3, 4, 5,000 instead of just offering 225.
That makes sense.
Because then, who in their right mind? Oh, it's an escalation clause. Who in their
not
right?
Doing it.
If it's 4,000 or 5,000, are you still not doing it?
Right.
And I look at that from the buyer. If I'm representing the seller, okay, are you really going to turn down $4 or $5 grand because it had an escalation clause?
Why? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, we're gonna.
I mean, if that wins, it wins.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
No
Good
harm,
point.
no foul. I don't think.
So would you advise your sellers then to wait for more? Would you? I mean.
I think I was thinking about this as we were talking. I think there's a few factors that go into it.
Okay.
And the factors for me are, what's the seller situation? You know, if the seller gets an offer and they really like it, you know, far be it from me to tell them otherwise.
Right.
But if we've got a bunch of showings waiting, if the first offer feels like maybe we could do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, just given the number of showings, what else is selling in the neighborhood, what are the terms of that offer? Are they giving you the right possession? Do they have a home to sell? I think there's so many of those factors that you have to
Right.
take into account. I think more often than not, I probably am going to tell them to wait.
I would.
Now, if you're selling, I think another factor is price point. You know, if you're selling in that 100 to 350,000 range, I think it's an easier decision to wait. I think if you're starting to get into that 500, 600,
I probably wouldn't advise then. Yeah, because you probably, again, dependent on how many showings are scheduled,
Right.
of course. But yeah, those higher price points, are you still seeing them
taking a little longer.
taking a little longer? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, as we said, this is a numbers game, and the
Right.
numbers get smaller for potential the higher the price goes,
Yeah.
because there's fewer people the higher it goes that can afford your home. At the, you know, why I said that the 100 to 300, you know, average sale price is around what, 215 or so, a little over 200 probably. And so that puts you smack into the middle of where at least half of buyers can afford your home.
Right.
And as that number goes higher, then the numbers, you know, start to go
Yeah.
the other direction. You know, I think you could get lucky if you've got a really great updated listing, you know, with some really great selling points at a higher price point. You know, you could get lucky and get multiples.
Sure.
But, you know, that's one that I probably would be more likely to advise to take it.
Yeah, I would too.
I mean, if it's a good offer.
Yeah, as long as it's a good offer.
Right.
You know, and then that's not to say too, in those lower price points as well, you may get an offer, it's cash, it's, you know, we're gonna close
Let's
in a
talk
week.
about
It's
that.
okay.
Let's talk about
Let's
cash.
talk about it.
Let's talk about that. Cash, you know, we just went through this with
Yeah.
a buyer this last week.
Well, we were talking about it yesterday.
Yes. And I had a buyer offer on a property. And we were told we were low, and we were told we were low by about $4,000. And my buyer thought that because he was cash, that the $4,000 shouldn't matter. And you know, correct me if you have a different opinion, but at $280,000 where we were, I think buyers are typically more financially able to complete the purchase. I don't see those transactions falling apart as much because of financing as I do the less than 100 or up to 150 you know, thousand price point, because there's different variables at play. Typically the people who are buying, you know, in that price range have a little bit harder time getting the loan, and I think that causes sometimes loans not to work out. At the higher price, I don't see it as often.
I would agree with that. I think though, like I was telling you, last year I had someone, it was cash, and it was 120,000 and below, 130,000 and below, and closed in 2 weeks, and people were still opting for financing over it if the offer was higher, which I found that very interesting. Because like you're saying, in those lower price points, I mean, it tends to, you know, and cash is not meaning the same thing anymore.
No.
People are
People
not.
have wised up. And
it's all cash to the seller at close.
That's exactly right.
It-
That's exactly
yeah.
100% right on the money. Literally on the money. Banks all along, you know, even during the recession, you know, I noticed cash didn't matter. You know, it was the bottom line dollar number. They're willing to roll that dice and take the risk, you know, on a financing deal if it makes sense for more money. And the benefits to cash, usually quick close. You know, obviously less risk on the financing side, and then appraisal is, you know, the three big reasons I think cash would have an advantage.
Right.
But what's happening in multiple offers, you've got people who are now waiving appraisal contingency altogether, or
Right.
willing to make up a difference, so that takes away
That's
the
benefit
appraisal
there,
risk.
yeah.
So that's negated.
Yeah.
Again, you know, we talked about the risks on different purchase levels of prices. So, you know, maybe that's negated in a different higher price point. And so really at the end of the day, if it's $4,000 or $5,000 more,
Makes
well,
sense.
you know what?
Yeah.
It's real money. It's hard money.
Money.
Yeah. And so it makes sense, I think, for the seller, you know, in those situations.
Yeah.
And I can understand why a buyer thinks that. The quick close thing, you know, and it depends on the seller situation. If the house is sitting vacant where they've already moved, they're already paying another mortgage, or they've moved into a rental,
Then it makes sense.
or out of town, then maybe a quick close
Yeah.
does make enough sense to them, because they've got to pay a mortgage and taxes for that month. So then maybe it does make sense.
Right.
In the instance where we just had this,
It didn't
sellers
matter.
were living in the house and needed a month.
To move out
anyways.
anyway. So yeah.
So that, I mean, all three things were potentially negated
Yeah.
of the benefit
That's
of cash.
interesting. Well,
Just something to think about for
Yeah.
buyers and for sellers.
so I think with the market the way it is, I would advise to wait and see what happens.
Yep.
Again, depending on whatever your agent's seeing for
Most times,
showings and.
Yep.
But hey,
I don't
know
think
what?
advertise it up front, but
No, I, you know, you and I have a big thing with karma, and I just, that's why I don't put the pending sign in the yard or the sold sign in the yard.
Kiss
you know,
of death.
you know, everyone knows, and if it gets to a point where that announcement needs to be made, then we do an
Yes.
email announcement. But,
Yes.
I think sellers take advantage of what you can. Absolutely.
Well,
If you've, it is a powerful market for you right now. You should absolutely get everything you can.
strike while the iron's
Yeah.
hot. Make hay when the sun shines. Do all those things. You know, it's not going to last forever. I
No,
don't think.
no, they keep saying it won't, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Year after year,
Yeah.
it just has. So
So that's where we are on
that's
that.
where we are.
And of course, you can find us on the iTunes
Yeah.
podcast.
We'll get more in depth
Store,
on Wednesday
yeah.
on Facebook and have another opinion with
Absolutely.
Amanda.
And we'll Google Play on the app or the podcast
Yeah,
store there as well. Until then, we'll see you or talk to you next week.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.